Welcome back to another exciting episode of Factorio Space Exploration. We're standing in the middle of the mega base, which we built 2 episodes ago now, and we still haven't even turned it on. A huge base like this requires a lot of mining outposts. I've already built all the mining outposts on this planet that we'll need to get started, and last episode we set up our first off-planet outpost, which is going to provide us with vulcanite and iridite. After sending a few rockets back and forth, I realized it would probably be helpful to supplement the rocket fuel production here with something local, and we just happen to have some very handy oil very nearby in these pockets of land with nothing built yet. I tried to actually place the thing to avoid them so that we could use them later, and this is what we're going to use them for. We're going to make some extra rocket fuel. Just an extra 90 solid rocket fuel a second, no big deal. So the new rocket fuel build, which is using local oil, is right here. It's sandwiched between all the vulcanite stuff, which is just above it, which is also making rocket fuel. Most of it is making rocket fuel. And this oil patch right beneath it, that oil patch is pretty straightforward to hook up to this build right next to it. And then there's this other oil patch right here, which I have connected with pipes and pumps to try to maintain the throughput. And we're trying to use a maximum of 10 pipe segments in between the pumps. So the pipes go down, and then they go laterally across all the way over to the oil. And then the water is being brought directly from the coastline because we're right next to this giant ocean, basically. So we can get this thing going. I can hook it up. I just need to copy-paste some pipe segments to connect the water. So there's all the water being distributed to all the different machines. Then I need to copy-paste some segments right here. And that one right there needs to be normal pipe. Like the rest of our build, this is designed with the future in mind, so it's built with speed module 7s and productivity module 7s in mind, and the wide area beacons, which we don't have yet. So this is going to be going really slow, and because of the amount of pipes we had to add, there's not even room to put normal beacons here. This won't reach, so this is going to be going, actually, pretty slow. Nowhere near the 90 rocket fuel per second, which it'll eventually do. But it will do more than 0, and more than 0 is good right now. Once we get back into space, hopefully we can tech up our tier levels, and we can get some better modules. We can unlock those beacons, and then the base will just get incrementally faster every time we do that. I've also completely rebuilt the fueling system all the way down this line. Since we have 2 extra belts of rocket fuel potentially in the future coming from this build, and 4 lines potentially from the vulcanite block, I put an 8x8 balancer. So we can do that. And I didn't really like how it was set up previously. Previously, each one of these fuel refineries had a few of these tanks which would go to a rocket silo, and that was just an isolated tank, and rocket fuel could get stuck there. If another silo needed the rocket fuel, it would just sit there and it couldn't be used. So now I've got one continuous line of tanks all the way across. So if a few rockets fire off more frequently than others, they can receive rocket fuel from all of these guys simultaneously. Of course, it'll take longer to distribute laterally, but at least it has that functionality now. Hey, look at that. That doesn't seem so bad. We're getting rocket fuel down the line. That's looking pretty good. That is looking pretty good. And speaking of that space oil I mentioned a minute ago, that is the big central oil refining area in the center of the build with the big trains. All of the oil that we need to send into space is getting made here. It'll get put into barrels and sent into space, and then we'll send the barrels back down to get reused. We've got these big trains, 4 16-4s. They're double-headed, and there's a stacker here with extra trains. I've put 6 trains in this guy, and so last thing we've got to do for outposts on this planet is we've got to hook up all these different oil wells, and it's done. So I've set up a train stop for each oil outpost, and there's a stacker with room for 2 extra trains. That is probably massive overkill, but I think it makes sense to overbuild now and not have to worry about it later. If it turns out we need extra trains, we can just add them to the system. The train stop is pretty straightforward. The oil gets stored in a group of tanks, and then when the train shows up, it loads the oil. That's it. And you may also notice that the distance between the signals is much greater on this network than on the main network. The main network is using 1-4 trains, so the signals can be pretty close together. And then on this network, they are much farther apart because we're using 4 16-4s. And I made a blueprint for the block length just so I can double check things. So we've got the oil all set up and all the different outposts on this planet. We can make iron plates, copper plates, we can make plastic and steel and all the normal stuff. And as for the modded materials, we now have access to vulcanite and iridite on our planet Morpheus. Oh, by the way, somebody said Morpheus wasn't a valid planet name. There you go. Big letters. On a screen, Morpheus is the planet where we're getting vulcanite and iridite. So anyway, the materials we're still missing are cryonite, holmium, beryllium, and vitamelange. We'll also need methane eventually, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. The one we're going to go after next is going to be holmium, and we're going to do that on this tiny little moon here, Sparky. It's really small, a radius of 570, and it does say that it has a threat rating of 3%. But I don't know, maybe the aliens spawned in the ocean and drowned, because there's no aliens here. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! Oh, finally, get to do my captain bit. Okay, here we go. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the cargo ship Zisteauprise, whose ongoing mission...
Planet proximity.
Ah, dang it, we're already here. So, we find ourselves on a strange new planet. It's a new planet, but it's the same old routine. Clean up the mess, put down some storage, start building basic infrastructure, put down some solar panels so we have a little bit of power, and then put down some railroads so we can connect everything up. And after a little bit of work, our outpost looks like this. Basic rail network. We're going to mine up some holmonite up here in the corner, and then the rocket silo section is pretty much a slimmed down copy of what we did on Morpheus, which looks like this. Since the planet has uranium and this big body of water, we're going to put our slimmed down nuclear power build in the water somewhere around here. Once the nuclear power is done, of course, we've got to mine up uranium, and for that we need sulfuric acid, so we need a source of oil and iron. There is some on this planet. There's not much, but we don't really need that much. And to get the whole thing started, we need to refine uranium into 238 and 235 and then make fuel cells. I highly recommend, if you're going to make an outpost like this, bring a few hundred 238 and 235 with you so you can make fuel cells right away, and then you can use that power to fuel everything else. I totally didn't forget to do that. I'm just sitting here for no good reason. Yeah, I like standing here. It's great. It's great. By the way, those palm trees look like they have fuel cells in them. That's pretty cool. So anyway, after a little bit of work, our outpost on Sparky is totally finished. We've got multiple sites where we're mining up the holmonite, and it's getting delivered via train to where our cargo rocket is getting loaded. We're making sulfuric acid to mine up uranium. We're mining up some iron to make that sulfuric acid. It's all running on nuclear power. In a few hundred hours, we might run out of iron on this planet, so we'll have to send some via rocket. But for now, for a long time to come, this place should run itself, so we can head back to Nauvis. We got some trains full of the lovely pink stuff, the bubblegum or the holmonite, sitting in the stacker, ready to go. This train is in the station. All the ore is on the belt. The rocket is all loaded up, it's totally full, so with nothing else left to do here, it's time to go back to Nauvis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! Okay, take 2, here we go. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages... Dang it! Next up, we're going to Vionet, which is down here. And we're going there to get cryonite. It's got some holmonite as well. It's got coal, it's got uranium, and it has water. So we're going to set up nuclear again. 3, 2, 1, blast off. Okay, try again. This time I should have time. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Zisteauprise, whose ongoing mission...
Planet proximity.
Crap! Ugh, pretty cold. And the snow is crunchy. Listen to that. Anyway, same basic idea. Clean up the mess, put stuff in storage, build some infrastructure, set up some power, get some nuclear going, start mining up the good stuff, and then get the heck out of here. So here's a little tour of our outpost on Vionet. I threw down some solar panels to get our power grid going. Unfortunately, this moon has a pretty long day-night cycle, and so we want to get off of the solar power and transition to nuclear power as soon as possible. We settled on the western edge of this strangely square-shaped planet because we need the large body of water for the nuclear power plant. We got some uranium mining right up here. There's a sulfuric acid train and a uranium train. The power is currently disconnected because we only have that solar panels, and as you can tell, it's night. We don't even have power at all at the moment. And we're trying to get our nuclear power up and running, so I mined up some uranium. And then I just unplugged it to conserve power. Over here, we're mining up iron to make sulfuric acid and also to make fuel cells. There's not a ton of iron there, but we really don't need that much. There's a train loading up iron, and then just beneath there is our rocket silo where we're going to load up all the stuff, as well as our meteor defense installations. All this stuff is unpowered as well because those meteor defense installation guys take a ton of power. Robots keep trying to put fuel in these trains because I copy-pasted this build from the other moon, and I guess those trains had coal in them. So they keep trying to take coal I pick up anytime I scoop up rocks and deliver it into the train, I guess. And then moving along to the south here is where the nuclear power is. There's also some oil right next to it, and so we're making our sulfuric acid right there. We're also making solid fuel to power the trains. Sulfuric acid goes into these tanks and gets loaded onto a train so that it can go up to mine the uranium. Then the uranium comes back here, and it ends up right here where we are refining it. Remember in the last outpost how I said to bring a few hundred 238 and a few hundred 235? Well, I totally remembered to bring the 235, but I totally forgot to bring the 238. So I'm standing in one spot again, waiting for this crap to process. So we have barely any power and a long day-night cycle. So I've been feeding in the fuel cells into these two reactors right here. As soon as these guys reach above 500 degrees, this sucker's gonna go Super Saiyan. Okay, here we go. 497 degrees. 499. So once again, another outpost finished. Nuclear power making everything go. We've got solar panels as a backup and to get the thing started. We've got several different mining outposts. Last thing to do is turn on the trains and then make sure we leave some robots in the roboports so we can do things remotely in the future if anything needs tweaking. Oh wow, these trains are running on coal and they are really slow. Oh my gosh, I forgot how slow coal trains are, but it doesn't really matter. Coal should be totally fine for our purposes out here. And there's our cryonite getting loaded into the cargo rocket silo. That's going to fill up. It's not going to launch yet, but when we need it to, it'll be ready to go. And with that done, there's nothing left to do here. So it's time to go back to Nauvis. 3, 2, 1, blast off! So there's no way I have time to do this, right? Okay, here we go. Space. The final frontier. Ah, knew it! Next up, we're going to make an outpost to acquire the last of the modded metals Beryl. I was originally thinking of going to this asteroid belt because we could have a very convenient power setup with the solar panels always being on because we'll be in space. But I don't have space rails unlocked yet, and all of these little asteroid islands are pretty far away. We'd have to bridge with the space platform. We'd have to move everything via belts. That doesn't seem like a very good idea at this point. So instead, we are going to go to this planet out in the outer ranges of our system, Elpis, which has a lot of Beryl, and guess what? It's got uranium, iron, oil, and water, so we can use nuclear power again. There is a small alien presence on this planet, but it's only 3%, so I think we can take care of it without too much trouble. And in addition, this planet, guess what? It's a bunch of islands. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Okay, quickly now. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship. I've forgotten how it goes.
Planet proximity.
Yeah. Kaboom! Yet again, another alien planet. Clean up the mess, put all the crap in the containers, and then we're gonna need to relocate. This planet is almost as big as Nauvis, so we're gonna have to look for the right spot. There's uranium here, 2 million. Another 2 million down here. I see iron, I see oil. I think we'll probably settle up here, which means I've got to move everything back and forth. And by the way, here's a neat little trick. Got to move a lot of stuff, and I've got limited inventory to carry it with. Got some extra space here. Since there's no robot system around, we can use these trash slots as extra inventory space. So that's probably going to be one fewer trip I got to take. And of course, on this planet, we've got one extra step that we've got to do in addition to our usual routine. And that extra step is we have to evict some aliens from our island. Aliens, read the terms of your treaty. And guess who remembered to bring both 238 and 235 this time? That's right, I did. 238 goes there. 235 goes there. I think I'll craft 30 or 40 fuel cells and then we'll start heating up the reactors. So the reactors have heated up, our power is stable, our outpost is done. Last thing to do is turn on the trains, and this does look like a lot of infrastructure, but it is just a tiny little corner of this huge planet. Anyway, let's turn on the trains, get the Beryl flowing, and then we'll get out of here. We'll go back to Nauvis and not have to come back here for hopefully a very long time. And with one more cargo silo filling up with a shiny new ore, this one's Beryl, we are done on this planet. It's time to go home. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Space. 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 Space, space, space. I'm in space and stuff. And I'm moving through space. I'm taking stuff. I'm taking crap through space. We're in space. Yeah, I'm in space. Until I'm not.
Beep.
So we're back on Nauvis, back at our base. We now have access to vulcanite, cryonite, beryl, homonite, and iridium. The only thing we're missing is vitamilage, and we're going to save that one for another day. Every single planet or moon that has vitamilage in my system has a pretty significant alien presence, except for Charis right here, which has a 1% alien presence. But looking at the surface, there's not much I can use as a fuel resource without shooting it in via cargo rocket, which I prefer not to do. There's no uranium, there's not much coal, and there's hardly any oil at all. All the other ones have a pretty significant biter presence, and in addition, the meteors, if they succeed in landing, spawn biters again. So that's going to be a more significant problem, trying to take over these planets. So we'll just save this for later. Maybe we'll come back when I've unlocked some cool new tech, some cool weapons, or something like that. By the way, there's a system of pins in the game. You can set a pin with Control Shift and a number, and then go to that pin with Control and the number. So I've set up some quick reference pins. Control 1 is our starter base. Control 2 is Morpheus with the vulcanite and the iridite. Control 3 is our mega base, the cargo rocket area. Control 4 is Sparky with the homonite. Control 5, Vionet with the cryonite. And then Control 6 is Elpis with the Beryl. But I think that's about gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.